Good afternoon and welcome back to my show. My name is Mokter Semikis Matthews, Mokter instead of Dr. Semikis Matthews. I have no credentials, but in my 53 years, I have seen some things and I have a PhD in keeping it real. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your Mokter's appointment. So today, our featured therapy title is called The Clock. This is a story that I've told many times to various people regarding an experience that I had when I went to therapy. Now, growing up, I had some various kinds of abuse happen to me as a little, not from anybody in my home, but I had a couple of things happen to me that kind of shaped me, and I didn't even realize it at the time. So I lived my life being, of course, I'm a mother of four, and so this, I'm sure, contributed to it. But I was always really exhausted, and I never had any energy, and I was always a really negative person. And so I was, going through this period in my life working at a place where I had a boss who was just giving me an extreme amount of pressure. She didn't care for me, pardon me, and so she made my life really, really hard for a couple of years, and I kind of broke one day and ended up at this therapy, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because it was something that I found later that I really needed. And what I learned in this therapy is when you go through certain types of abuse as a child, you feel this sense of shame. And you feel this sense of shame, you feel like a bad person, like a dirty person, and you develop these feelings about yourself from a very, very, very young age. And it carries on into your life and you don't even realize it's happening. You don't even realize the things that you're doing that were a result from that. So what I was learning at this therapy was that when we have this shame, we often go into this negative self-talk, like even in a joking way, right? So, say I wear something and it doesn't look good on me or something, and I would say, oh yeah, I would call myself fat or something and then like laugh, but really this is just kind of something that we're programmed to do, and we make light of it because we don't want to feel bad about it. And so I learned that, the depression or the exhaustion I was feeling all the time, the lack of motivation, the anger that I had was all part of this depression. And I had no idea. I just thought that's who I was as a person without what I'd gone through being the reason. And one of these therapists, so it was kind of like a cafeteria type therapy where you go in and they have 5 different or 6 different types of therapy that they offer, and you can choose which one you feel like you need that day and what you want to explore. And you go into these different rooms, and there are these different workshops, and you learn different things about yourself. And one of the things that kind of was a common idea throughout this therapy that I got in each of the different workshops was the inner child. They talked a lot about the inner child, a lot. And I'm sure that it's because so many people get their trauma from childhood. And so they talk about this inner child. And this negative self-talk and this inner child, well, let me back up for a second. When you have something traumatic happen to you as a child, they say, they being the doctors, not the Mokters, they say that you stop developing normally. Your brain, your emotions, you do not develop normally from that point on. There are things that are suppressed in you that are lacking in you that you don't even realize are happening to you in your mind once these things happen. It happens, and then you go through your life, and it feels just normal. You just feel like yourself. But because of this, thing, they really try to explain to you how unkind it is for us to talk ourselves down because we are speaking to that inner child. We're constantly ridiculing that little child within us that stopped growing at that young age, whatever age it is. And for me, it was like 4 or 5. So I'm just a little person. And that's the person that we're always talking negatively to, because that's the person that we feel ashamed of because someone made us feel ashamed of that person because of what they did to us. But we carry the shame, we carry the filth that we feel and all that other kind of stuff. And that really hit me like a ton of bricks. I had heard it so much that I think it might have been, I'd heard it so much throughout this month that I said to myself, I'm really gonna like, instead of just like going to therapy and then running home and cooking dinner and not giving it a second thought, I'm gonna go somewhere and I'm going to ponder this. I'm gonna really dissect what's happening to me, what this all really means for me. And I started to think, I went to I went to the river, and I went and sat in my car, and I really pondered that, and I gave it some thought, and I said to myself, all this time that I have been beating myself up, negative self-talk, quietly, out loud, you're so stupid, you're so, everything you say, you're so, why'd you say you're so dumb? I mean, constantly doing that kind of stuff to myself. I stopped and I said, oh my gosh, you're doing that to the little girl version of yourself, like all the time. And what did she do to deserve it? And then I started thinking about my children and my little niece that I had at the time. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm looking at their little faces and what they look like at 4 years old. And I thought, I would never let anybody talk to them that way. Are you kidding me? I would like blow a gasket. Okay. And I thought, but yet that's what you're doing to yourself all the time. And I really got sad about it, and it made me like cry because I'm picturing myself, my 4-year-old self, because of course I have pictures of myself from when I was a little girl that my mom kept, and I was thinking of what a cute little girl I was growing up. And I did something. I wanted to apologize to that little person. I actually paused the video for a second so that I could show you this picture of myself. Let me see. I wonder if I'll be able to. Let me see. I was 4 years old. I don't know that you're going to be able to see that. Huh. Oh, there I am. Okay. I'm focused now. That was me when I think I was about 5 years old. I don't know if I was cute or not. I thought I was cute. There we go. Negative self-talk. But anyway, I had this inclination to apologize to little me. And I closed my eyes, and I just can't tell you how real this experience was, and how, or surreal, or how it was the strangest thing that had ever happened to me. But I was in such a deep part of my mind, in my brain. My eyes were closed, and I just began to say, I am so, so sorry. I just kept apologizing to my little self. And I kept imagining myself at different ages. I imagined myself like at 4, 8, 11, 14, all the different stages of my life. I was apologizing to myself. And the way that it looked in my mind was, I had my eyes closed, and anyway, I don't know where I was at. I had to pause. But I closed my eyes, and I was in this very, very, very deep, I don't want to call it a trance, because that's not what it was, but I just don't have a better word for what I'm trying to describe. But my eyes were closed, and in my mind's eye, I pictured myself in a dark room sitting on a chair. And the first version of me, which was 4 years old, walked into the dark room. Like, I couldn't really see. And you know how when you open a dark room and there's light on the other side and someone opens the door, you see the light from the door, and I could just see the silhouette of myself walking toward me. And I would say it must have been maybe about 10 feet. I don't know, I'm not good with measurements, but the little version of me is walking toward the adult version of me. And I'm seeing all this so vividly in my mind's eye. And as I look at myself, my little self approaches me, almost looking afraid, which I thought was an interesting point. Almost looking afraid, like, are you going to yell at me, or are you going to be mean to me, type of thing. Like, that's the look, like looking up at me, like, and as soon as I looked at myself in that little cute face, I apologized, and I said, I am so, 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 so sorry. I am so sorry if I hurt you. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. And I'm in my van, right? Nobody else sees what's going on in my mind's eye. They're just all looking at me, and I'm in my van because I'm at a river, but it's also like it's like a boardwalk area that's populated, and I'm apologizing to myself, and I'm just like, my eyes are closed, and I'm gripping my steering wheel. And that's what the outside world sees, but all I saw was my face, so ever vivid and so ever clear. And I am just apologizing, and I am promising that from now on, I am going to work at loving you better and being kinder to you. I'm really talking to myself at the age where I was broken for the first time in a major way. And I did that for every single age that I mentioned before, or around like age range 8, 11, 14. I looked at myself, at each version of myself, and apologized profusely for the abuse that I gave to that. And I looked at myself and I thought, you are so adorable. How could I treat you that way? I love you. I love you. I'm so sorry. And I realized in a weird way that I was actually apologizing to myself and telling myself, I love you. And this is what it takes, guys. It takes a deep moment and a true moment with yourself to apologize and let yourself know, I love you. And I am not going to treat you this way anymore. The most impactful vision I had was the first little me, and being so she was just so sweet and so beautiful, and she looked at me like she wanted to trust me, but she wasn't sure. And I just, held her face, and I promised, to remind myself every now and then that I'm going to remember that I got to talk to you and be kind to you and treat you well. And I kind of, went through this for about maybe an hour doing this. And, realizing I got to get home, got in my car and started driving. But even as I got home, I was still just saying, I promise you, I am not going to do this to you ever again. You know how when you talk so much and you cry so much and you're breathing so hard, it kind of starts to get sore right here. I mean, that's how profusely I was apologizing. So anyway, I get home, and this is where the crazy part kind of happens. I get home, and I got to use the restroom because I've been at therapy, and then I went to the river for 3 hours, and now I got to really go pee. And I had this clock in the bathroom that I have every single morning looked at for years, because I keep it in the bathroom, because I'm one of those kind of people that I am going to lose track of time if I don't keep, okay, I got to leave in 10 more minutes, I got 5 more minutes, I got, I had to do that every morning, because getting ready, I get sidetracked and I would be late for work. So I had that clock in the bathroom, and it's just a little round clock that I got from IKEA, and it was a white clock with black numbers on it, and black hands or arms or whatever they call them, hands. And I looked at that thing every day, every morning for years, multiple times in the morning, so that I wasn't late for work. But on this day, on this moment, when I got home from my therapy and from my self-kindness, exercise that I did, I looked at that clock when I went into that bathroom, and the hands on that clock were royal blue. And I was like, what is going on? What is going on? I was like, I've looked at this clock, this white clock with black hands for years. And when I walked in, I could see that the hands were bright royal blue. And it freaked me out so bad that I grabbed the clock and I went to my 2 sons and my husband, and I was like, what color are the hands on this clock? And he's looking at it, and he's like I'm crazy and tripping, and he's like, they're blue. And I was like, you've always seen them as blue? He's like, yeah, I've always seen them as blue. What's your problem? I asked my sons, they said the same thing. The hands are blue. I don't know what it is or why it happened, but I had suppressed that in some way, and the hands just looked black to me. And now, mind you, I had those big glass windows that look like big giant ice cubes, and they're thick, they're cubes, And I had a big one. It didn't open up in the bathroom, but it always had light in there. So in the morning, the light was bright in there. I mean, I could see very, very well. And they always looked black to me until that moment. They were blue. Those hands were blue. So the next day, I go to my therapy and I relay this message to one of my therapists. And I, after therapy, I said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" I go into his office and I explained it. And he said, "That is very interesting." He goes, "But I want to show you these books." And he turned around and he had this, he had a bookcase with all these books and these different methods of therapy from all over, the world. And he said in Eastern medicine there's a color therapy theory that he's read about before. He never gave me the book. I didn't ask about it, but it was just something that he had said he had heard things like that before, not so much that exact story. But that was a very, one of the most eye-opening experiences for me. And I say eye-opening because I realize how important it is to be kind to ourselves and not be so hard on ourselves. The things that have happened to us are not our fault, and yet we beat ourselves up for it so bad every day in ways we don't even realize. And we don't even realize what we're doing to our being, and it taught me that I've got to come back to myself when I notice I'm getting off, in the wrong way, or I'm feeling bad too long and I'm being negative, that I gotta stop and slow down and apologize to little me and tell me I love me, so that I don't suppress any other beautiful things in my life that I'm blocking with that negative behavior or that negative self-talk. So I just wanted to share that with you. If there's anybody, if any of you want to relate an experience that you've had in this type of thing, or if, tell me what you think of my experience. But what I'm going to prescribe for you as a prescription, Mochter's orders, I want you to tell yourself you love yourself. I want you to really sit down alone by yourself and give yourself some time. Doesn't have to be an hour, or maybe it does. You decide. You feel what you need, and you do some therapy like that for yourself, where you talk to you, because you are worth it. You are beautiful, and you're loved. It's amazing how we would never treat other people sometimes as bad as we treat ourselves. We wouldn't say the hurtful things to other people that we would say to ourselves. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what you want to talk about in future videos. And please let me know what you think about this video. And please don't forget your prescription. Show yourself some self-love today. See you next time.